So today we're going to talk about the greatest upper back exercise that I don't do. Now this might seem like a little bit of a paradox. It
doesn't make any sense.
If this exercise is so great, why don't I do it on a regular basis? So if you think you know in advance, comment below. I want to see how many people can actually guess this. Not that I'll ever know. So the exercise is the standing rear delt raise, and I attribute a lot of my rear delts, mid traps, upper trap development to this movement. You get a great stretch at the bottom, good contraction at the top, you can protract, retract, it feels very natural, and it really stimulates a lot of gains. You can also use a little bit of a cheat to go beyond failure or to use heavier weights than you could with ultra strict form. With the strength curve of a rear delt raise, it's most challenging at the top, so using a slight cheat actually makes a lot of sense, at least based on the strength and resistance curves. So when I incorporated this movement in mid-2019, I noticed a pretty quick response, you know? It's like, have you ever noticed, like, you go to the mirror and you're just like, what the, where did that come from?
You're thicker than a bowl of oatmeal.
It was one of those situations within a few weeks of introducing it. And nothing happens by accident in training. It's not like you put an inch on your legs and you're like, I don't know, where did that come from? Oh yeah, it's because I was squatting 4 times a week. So why don't I incorporate this tremendous exercise into my program on a regular basis? Well, it's the concept of training money. You have a limited amount of resources that you can use to recover from training and get better. A limiting factor for most people is going to be the lower back.
Oh, my back!
This is something that's very common, and if you want to get a big lower body, you're going to be spending a lot of your training money using the lower back, which just can't take as much stress as a lot of areas. This is part of the reason why a lot of powerlifters, they supplement their main lifts with accessory lifts that still target the lower body while taking the lower back out of the equation. And so with the concept of stimulus to fatigue ratio, often the fatigue limiting factor, it's not necessarily systemic, it is local, specifically with the shoulders and the lower back. So when you're arranging your training program, there might be some great exercises that just beat you up too much to really include. There's something else that is not quite as stimulatory that you can keep in your program and get you better overall results. And this is going to be quite individual, and you'll have to spend several years. I know that sounds like a long time. It's not. You know, 3 or 4 years to set up your training in the grand scheme of things is nothing. But it'll take you a few years to really find those exercises that beat you up too much to really keep in your program. And then also find those exercises where you can do consistently on a regular basis and they don't tax you structurally or in terms of central nervous system or just the axial loading. And so you can actually progress on those over a longer period of time. However, you also have to take into account your goals. For example, if I didn't really have any lower body goals,
Nice.
I might include this because actually it's killing more birds with one stone. But if I'm already killing those birds with other stones and I just want to kill this one bird, maybe I don't want to have a throw that might hit 2 birds. I just want to hit that one bird. So it really just does depend on your program as a whole, your goals. You kidding me, bro? And how you want to structure everything. Also, the time that you have available to train is a huge factor. If I could only train 30 minutes per day or something, or an hour 3 times per week, I could use those higher stimulus, higher fatigue movements because they are much more time efficient. I don't have to do as many sets to get the same benefit. But because training is a big part of my life, I enjoy training, I don't mind spending a little bit of extra time in the gym because I don't have any other hobbies, right? I don't mind taking those movements out and putting something in where I have to do a few more sets, but gets me better overall results. And I think it's important to realize that no movement is necessary, and even if a movement is good, if it beats you up too much, for long-term, quote-unquote, optimal results, you might need to chop it the fuck out of your program. Even if you like it, even if you love it, it just might not be worth it. And at this point, I've gotten dozens, if not hundreds of DMs from people who think that they have to do certain movements. Unless you're a powerlifter or a weightlifter or you are a strongman and you have to do these certain movements, if you're just a hypertrophy enthusiast, you train for enjoyment. Why are you doing things that that hurt you and beat you up and you don't like doing, okay? So if you don't like doing the barbell bench press, you don't have to do the barbell bench press. I know this is amazing. I know it's gonna change your Monday quite a bit, but you don't have to do it, okay? You can do dumbbells. And I know a lot of people who, they don't barbell bench press and they don't particularly miss it either. Same with squat, same with deadlift, same with overhead press, same with any movement. You don't have to do it. Hypertrophy is such a flexible goal that you can chop out half of the hypertrophy exercises in existence. You can just Thanos snap that shit.
I am inevitable.
And you'd be fine. And this is why I think it's important to realize that anytime you have an exercise in your program, it is constantly vying to justify its place in that program. It's not like you put something in and you just keep it in there for the rest of time. No, it is always competing with everything else, and this is why you're probably going to have to swip out. Pretty sure what happened just then is Switch and Swapped decided to swip and swatch themselves when I was speaking. And so an exercise is going to get stale. It's only the greatest exercise when it is the greatest exercise. So I get a lot of questions, hey, what is the best chest exercise, bro? First of all, it's individual. Second of all, it depends on your program. Third of all, it depends on where are you in that program. How long have you used this movement? What rep range are you doing? How close are you going to failure? What other movements do you have in your program? How long have you kept it in your program? How many times are you doing it per week? There are a lot of factors that determine the greatest exercise for a certain muscle group. Nowadays, it seems like most people just want that quick answer.
Get off my lawn.
Just tell me what to do, what is the movement, give me a rep range and let me go. Well, that's not enough nuance, and that is not going to be useful for your long-term progress. You have to understand all the factors that go into the process. So a lot of people ask me, why am I not on TikTok? Why do I not make that much short-form content? Where are the YouTube shorts, bro?
Get off my lawn.
It's just not what I'm interested in doing, right? I'm interested in deeper conversations that can actually help people in the long term. And, you know, I have some friends who make short-form content, but it's just not what I'm interested in, right? Like, you just can't really... And so I'll never shame anyone for asking those questions, because it shows they're trying to learn. And it's said that there's no such thing as a stupid question. There are, right? Like, I've written on Quora for a long time. There are some stupid questions. That's not a stupid question. It's just an incomplete question. And I encourage you to realize there are levels to this and try to go a little bit deeper. Because when I know when someone asks, oh, what is the best this exercise? Or like, what is the best training split? For who? At what time? For what reason, right? There's a lot of other questions that you should be asking. And some people might say, oh, that is overcomplicating training. I would say it's the opposite. I would say if you're thinking like that mentality, you are underthinking training, and you should be thinking a little bit deeper, at least if you give a shit about getting results. And it's sad how social media tends to promote the easy, quick, simple answers.
Get off my lawn.
That aren't really answers at all, because they're not really going to get you results past that very, very beginner, maybe intermediate level. And that's where people run into problems, because they just, oh, what is this exercise? The best one, I do this. It didn't work for me. Well, there's a lot of reasons why it might not have worked for you, and you have to understand why it didn't work, or why something does work. People aren't really thinking or asking those questions. I get none of those on Quora. I get none of those on YouTube. Well, a few, but not many. And it's frustrating. So if you clicked on this video expecting to hear all about the greatest upper back exercise in existence, well, you're exactly the kind of person who needed to watch this video and hear this message, because you're going to go through a lot of these kinds of videos searching for answers that are just incomplete. So as you navigate social media fitness, YouTube fitness, whatever, keep in mind that I would say at least 90% of content creators, they either don't know the nuance about programming and how to set everything up, or they know and they just don't have time for it, because people don't want to take that time to actually understand it, and people just click away before they're given the answer. At this point, I've talked to a lot of content creators. Usually there's an inverse relationship between the quality of the content in terms of making people think and actually giving them the tools to set them up for long-term success. and how popular that content is. Usually people's most popular videos, it's just some hit and run thing or some super popular topic that doesn't go into depth. And just as a content consumer, realize that just because a video has a lot of views, that doesn't mean it's actually quality, and vice versa. And the same thing with sub count as well. There's a lot of great channels, which I'll be covering in the future, that are pretty minimalistic in terms of how many subs they have. And then there are some huge channels which are absolute dog shit. Anyway, I'll stop rambling now. My walk after the gym is almost done. Oh, and if you want to grab a copy of my book, it doesn't give you just quick, easy answers. It will make you think and challenge you intellectually, but that might be better for your long-term progress. Let me know if you have any questions about this video. Kind of a rambling, ranty one, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Peace.